Oh, hey, thank you. Thank you. No, it's just a joy to be able to introduce today's speaker, my friend Ellen. When I caught her, I manifested her. I was thinking about her when I was walking into the club, and there she appeared across the street. We were able to touch base, and she'd mentioned that she was a bit nervous, and I was thinking to myself, that's because you're going to tell the truth. And standing up in front of a group of people and telling the truth about yourself, you're ugly. What got us here usually isn't like, oh, it's so amazing. I'm so successful. Um, so you're in for a treat. She's gonna tell you the truth about how she got and stayed sober. So here's Ellen.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. Um, I'm Ellen. I'm an alcoholic. By the grace of God and amazing sponsorship, I've been sober since March 13th of 2016. That is, whew, that's a long time for me. Happy birthday, Seth. I was actually kind of coming in here. I haven't been here for a while, and I used to work at Alpha Graphics, and we printed a sign for him, and it's down. And I'm a little fucking pissed. And now these really colorful ones are up here, and I'm a little sad. Congratulations on 9 years. And then Debbie and Anna, I don't even know what I could sit up here and talk about how amazing that is that you guys have 7 and 4 years. I'm so grateful that I'm here today. So grateful that I'm here to speak. I am nervous today, and I have spoke at the podium many and many times. But I think the fact of the matter is the last time I was here was about a year and a half ago, and my kids had just lost their dad, and I was a fucking wreck. And I remember just standing here, and I don't even know what came out of my mouth, but I know I looked in the audience, and a lot of people just nodded at my really awkward comments. And I feel like anything that I can say in these rooms, I can't say to a normie. That is 100% sure, because they'd probably be like, "You're not well," and I'm not. Sometimes I don't know how I got to where I got. Um, I love Stanley's not here, but Stanley, thank you for asking me to speak. He had messaged me and he just said, "I've heard you speak before and I want to hear you speak again." And that just made my heart melt because I always feel like I stand up here and just ramble about nonsense, and I probably do, but I hope I can resonate with at least one person today. Are you my timer today?
No.
Will you be? Oh, there's a clock right there. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Alex is my timer at the solution group, so I always get excited. Just look at her for numbers. I'll look at the clock. I'm good. I can read. I can read today. Um, yeah, just today I can though. So yeah, I always think before I speak, like what's gonna resonate, the best with people. And to tell you the truth, my using years are still so important to me because they were so icky. And the fact that I can stand up here with 9 years sober saying people can do it, anyone can. If I can do it, you can do it. Um, I wasn't this put together usually. I put makeup on today for you guys. I just was pretty impressed. I was born and raised in Missoula, Montana. I always do this. My mom hates it, but I always point out my mother. She comes and supports me. My goal is to make her cry every single time, and I am always successful, 100%. Um, she's been with me through everything. She's probably one of my biggest inspirations. I love you and thank you for being here for me today. I have been close to my mother ever since I was little. She played slow pitch softball down at the fort when the new fort is really fancy, but it was a lot trashier back then. And I remember just like running barefoot around that complex and playing and watching my mom play softball, and I just loved it. I just loved the atmosphere. I loved being around that. And that's what I aspired to be when I was older. I was like, I'm gonna play sports my entire life. And I did. I did for quite a while, until drinking kind of dulled that for a while. Um, I had two parents. My dad still lives in Missoula, Montana. Me and him are on different playing fields right now. My dad, per me is an alcoholic. But that's not for me to say. But my dad was like that really just kind of hardworking guy, worked Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Um, I had no emotional connection with my father at all. He took care of me financially though, which I didn't see until about 5 years ago. The only way my dad was able to take care of me was with money and keeping me fed and keeping me clothed. And, I really did have anything I could have needed as a child. And so, but I resented him for a long time. And sometimes I still do. He's going to make my amends list probably every single time I do it. But I got into sports when I was pretty young. So I started playing softball when I was about 9. And that's really where I kind of found like my calling in life. I just was a really naturally gifted athlete. And I worked really hard at it. My parents paid for me to play travel ball and to go to tournaments and just all the things I could have needed. And so that was where I really found my passion. I have an older sister and an older brother. My sister is about 2.5 years older than me, and she is just my right wing. She's wonderful. I love her so much, and we've always been really close. And I haven't been so close to my brother growing up. We just are very detached, and that's okay. Hopefully that will blossom in the future. I don't know what that looks like, but my sister, when she got to high school, she started experimenting with alcohol. And I remember she came home this one day. She must have been a freshman or sophomore. I don't really know. But she came home one night and she was just plastered. And I was like, oh, like it was so icky. And she was like, didn't smell good and she wasn't fun. And I was like, I'm never gonna do that ever. And then 2 years later, I was doing that. I was a freshman in high school and I was going to Sentinel and um people who were athletes, I'm sure every clique has its own little thing, but athletes drink. I don't know about you guys, but I just started drinking freshman year. And my alcoholism is very, very, very progressive. Like it literally every year was just worse and worse and worse and worse. So as a freshman, it was just like on weekends, just on weekends, but I didn't drink normally. That is a fact. I had a few of my girlfriends who'd had like a couple Zimos and they were like, I'm so drunk. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, where's the hard stuff? And I always just knew from an early age that I didn't drink normally, ever, So it became a weekend thing. And then it became like a weekend and like maybe once a week kind of thing. And then it became a 4-day week kind of event. And by the time I was a June, my time frame was really off. I'll just say by the time I graduated high school, I had my first DUI at 18 and I had 3 MIPs. And my MIPs, I just giggle about that because minor possession. If you didn't have one, I mean, come on. Normies probably don't. That's not normal for anyone. But I did. And so senior year, I get my third MIP. I got my second and my third MIP very, very close to each other. And it was right during softball season. And I was always the person that would quit before you could fire me. Always. So I kind of just ratted myself out to my coach and said I got my third MIP and I couldn't play softball my senior year. And it was devastating. That's the only thing I loved. That was weird. That got me really emotional. That was all I loved, was sports. And I couldn't fucking play. Don't ask me how this happened, but I somehow got a partial scholarship to play at a community college in Washington. I didn't even play in my senior year. So thank the Lord, the coach didn't even, I'll get more cries in, I'm gonna guarantee it. Actually, I'm gonna stop really quick. When I was really nervous this morning, I told my daughter about it, and she gave me her necklace to wear today. And she's 7, and she goes, "This is so you're not nervous." And then she's like, "Hey, bye, like get out of here." So yeah, so I moved to Washington, and I live on campus with a girlfriend that I was on the softball team with me, and we ended up having like a really, really great bond. But yeah, I went to school and I was away from home and I had no parental supervision and I had plenty of people to buy alcohol. So my drinking just kind of expanded, and I was the kind of person that, man, the only reason I did decent in school was to play softball. That was the only reason. I hated school. I wasn't good at it. I didn't want to put the effort in. If I put half the effort into school that I would have sports, I would have been stellar. But that just wasn't what I wanted to do. I I wanted to play sports and get drunk. That's where I had the most fun. A lot of people say that they weren't comfortable in their own skin for a long time, and I really don't know if I felt that way. I felt like I was a chameleon and I was able to fit into whatever clique I wanted to. I was pretty good at that. I could be a stoner, I could be a jock, I could be a prep, I could be whatever I needed to be. And maybe that isn't comfortable. I don't know. But it was comfortable for me at the time. But So yeah, so I drank pretty heavily that freshman year, and then sophomore year rolls around, and it was just a 2-year school, and I got approached by my softball coach and another girl from the team who I was actually currently living with, and they said, "Hey, we think you have a drinking problem." And I was like, "Go fuck yourself." And I was super bitter and I was super mad. And I do curse on the podium. I really try not to, but that's just who I am. Um, and I was angry. I was really angry. And so instead of trying to like work through that uncomfortability, I just quit the softball team. I quit school, I quit everything. Met a man when I was going to school over there, and he was originally from Phoenix. So I moved to Phoenix with him. I was like, well, it's just school's done. Let's just go, which I did. And Phoenix only became worse, and I do give myself like little pats on the back. I was with a man who was a total normie, didn't drink like I did, but did like to go out here and there. And I got into really good shape when I was over there. Like I had like a little routine. Like I would it was just me and him. So we'd go to the gym like 5 days a week. And then when he'd go to school, he did school in the evening. He went from like 2 to 8. I would go to the same liquor store every single time. And I always bought a fifth of vodka and a 6-pack. And then it was really sad because like the guys at the convenience were like knew my name and they're like, "Hey, Ellen," and I was like, "Hey, that's not good that you're known at the liquor store for buying booze." And I really became a closet drunk at that time. So I really started hiding my drinking at that time when I was about 21. Um, and I always say this, like I was like the epitome of like a closet drinker. Like we had a big walk-in closet. I'd like close the door and like go in my closet and drink. Um, and I started like passing out. He would come home and he couldn't wake me up, and just like very icky drinking. I'd sit out by the pool and just drink my vodka and drink my beers and just get fucking plastered. And by myself, right? Like no friends, no one hanging out with me. It was just me. And it became really icky. And I ended up moving to I came back to Missoula. It was my mom's 50th birthday. And I was like, I'm gonna go home for a few days. And I came home for like the rest of my life. I just as we do, I just run away from shit. I left everything I owned in Phoenix, and I came home and I found some people that I used to drink with when I was in my high school years. And I went on about 6-month bender that I don't even know what happened. It was from August to January. And I just blacked out for 6 months. Um, and it was fun, I think. I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I clearly had a good time, right? Because I don't remember any of it. And in January rolls around, and I had got so violently ill from drinking that I couldn't drink anymore. I was just experiencing just massive withdrawals. And I was actually at the Slipper just drinking water. I just couldn't drink I couldn't handle booze. And something happened. My friends who were there can attest. I stiffened up and I fell back and I fell off my bar stool and I had a grand mal seizure from an alcohol withdrawal. And I was in the hospital for about, I don't know, just about a day or so. And my dad came down to see me, and he just was mortified. Like my dad has no idea what my life is like today. Even at 9 years sober, he just has no fucking clue. And he's like, "I didn't realize it was that bad." And I was like, "Of course you don't. You're not my dad." Like, and I really felt that way at that time. Um, and that only kept me sober for about 30 days. 30 days. I was gonna say a year, although that's not true. About 30 days, right? I felt a little better, and that's what happens to me. Like I feel a little better, and I'm like, I'm going back out. And that's what I did. And I met this man, and I met my kids' dad, and we had a very fun time early on that was just built around drinking and stupidity and sex, and that was about it. And I ended up having my first kiddo, Parker. Anyone who knows him, he's just a delight. He's just my little, I don't know, just my joy in my life. I owe him a lot. I drove drunk with him a lot when he was little, a lot. He was about 6 months old, and I had picked up a drink again when he was about 4 months old. So through my pregnancy, I was totally sober, totally dry. Was not in sobriety. I got a lot of comments. People were like, "You're glowing. You look beautiful." And I felt good. I felt really good. And it just wasn't enough to keep me sober. I remember I had him and I breastfed for a little bit. And I was so sick of breastfeeding because I wanted to drink. That was my problem. I wanted to get drunk and I couldn't. And so I remember I just went out one night. I went to the elbow room, like the newer elbow room they built a while ago, and I remember sitting there, I picked up where I left off. I just drank so much, and I felt like I couldn't even catch a buzz almost. Like I just kept drinking, and I was like, God damn it, I can't feel the effects. And so I picked up my drinking again. And by the time my son was 6 months old, I had racked up my third DUI. And I ended up going to MCDC for the first time, and that was in 2013. And I think MCDC really, really planted a seed for me of some sort. I don't know what it was because I came home and I didn't drink for almost 2 years, about 22 months. I have like memorized like 22 and 10 days, which is really sad too. And I was raised in Parker and I thought things were going good, but my partner was still drinking. And it was really hard to be around. And I got a call from my probation officer that goes, Hey, good news. You're up for early release. And I was like, Beautiful. And I got drunk. That was my celebration. I was like, I need to go with Hammer. This is fabulous. Maybe on probation finally. And within a month and a half, I had racked up a fourth DUI. And that's just the progression of my drinking. I drink to oblivion. I drink to blackout. I don't drink for that little, like, I feel great. I want to feel different. And that's what drinking does to me. And so I was on my last stint and I was going to court and I had to go to the watch program. And if anyone's familiar with that, it's fucking terrible. Yeah. And I fought tooth and nail to go. I just fought tooth and nail to go. I used my son as leverage. I'm like, I've got a baby at home. I can't do this. And they didn't give a shit. And I ended up going to watch. And I sat in jail for 5 weeks prior to going because they don't let you get there by yourself. You go right into DOC custody and you get transported whenever they feel like transporting you. So I was away from Parker for about 7 months. It was awful. And I always tell this story and I'm always going to cry, but it's so important for me. We were in treatment and the counselor had asked, Hey, what's your son eat for breakfast today? I said, I don't know. And they're like, what's he wearing to school today? I was like, I don't know, because I wasn't there. Thank the Lord, my mother and his dad were able to take care of him when I was gone. And it was just awful. I remember, and I was thinking too, when I got to treatment, I was like, I just got to get through 6 months and I can get drunk again. I can just change things the way I do them. Right? Because that's what I do. I'm like, just alter the way I do stuff. And that was the moment where I was like, my life is a problem. Like, my drinking's a problem. And I remember Parker came to visit me. My mom drove him. Oh my God. And by the way, the watch program I was in, was in Glendive, so it was far away. And my mom and my aunt, bless their goddamn hearts, drove 3 kids all the way to Glendive, Montana to visit me for 2 hours. And my son, like, I remember he was so cute. I remember exactly what he was wearing too. Like, this is my memory. He has like a little like Nike orange shirt with like little khaki shorts on and his little like flip-flop sandals. And he came into the room and I was like, Parker. And he didn't run right to me. And it was horrible. It was a horrible feeling. I don't know if he was 2 or 3. I think he was 2. I don't 2 or 3. And it was awful. It's the worst experience I've ever had in my life. And I wasn't mad at him. All right. You can't, how do you be mad at someone you're not there? You're not present. I was gone for a lot of his young childhood. And those are the things today that keep me showing up for him. That's all he needs is mom to show up. Do you guys ever watch videos on like Instagram where it's like showing up's important and it's like the little kids like looking for their parents? Like when they finally see them, they just light up. Like that's Parker. I need to show up for him and I do. And so I came home and my mom had been going to Al-Anon. And so she picks me up on like a Sunday. We stay the night in Billings on Sunday. We drive home Monday and Tuesday she goes, let's go to the solution group in Missoula. And I said, great. So we go to the solution group and Dan P was the speaker. And it was like so what I needed to hear. Like, I don't know if you guys know Dan P, but like I needed to hear him speak at that time. And he talked about the ickiness and the darkness of his drinking, but he was able to bring in some sort of humor because he was in sobriety. And he's like, this is what I've done. Here's how it went. And something clicked like immediately. And I was like, this is where I need to be. This is exactly where I need to be. That's my story. And so I saw Kelly for like months. It is like, if anyone knows, asking someone to be your sponsor is so fucking awkward, so uncomfortable. And I'm a total, I mean, I consider myself a pretty big extrovert. And I was so nervous, but I had saw Kelly for a couple months and she just had the cutest goddamn skirts and boots and her hair was always done. And she just spoke with, I don't even know the word, just awesomeness. And so I remember I asked her to be my sponsor and I was like, what does this look like? And so she, the most amazing thing she did was she just said, my house is your safe place. I'd never heard that phrase before, even in my home, like this. She broke it down and said, when you come here, you are safe, you are loved, and we'll talk about stuff. I said, okay. And to be honest, I really think Watch was a good starting point for me because it really taught me to shut the hell up and just listen. Because, Watch, you're really broken down. You're really broken down. You really get to see your character defects, your flaws, and they little by slowly build you up, right? But I was able to go sit in her house and then just kind of listen. And she read the book for me. And it was so funny. I've heard this a couple times, but people are like, yeah, my sponsor read the book for me. And they're like, I can read, but I can read too. And I don't think I ever would have got anything if Kelly didn't read it to me. So we just start going through the steps. And I remember I got pregnant with my daughter with the same man, which was a horrible fucking decision that I made. Um, but I got pregnant with my daughter, and I think what's really important for me to discuss is that I was still really sick the first 2 years of sobriety. And I hope I don't scare people away from that. I just think that yes, I came, I showed up, I listened, but I was still making really shitty decisions. I still made really, just, yeah, poor things that I did. And I got pregnant with my daughter, but I'm so grateful. She is, fuck, if you guys know her too, Parker and her are night and day. She tells me what to do, basically. But so I'm working through my fourth step, and my fourth step took me a long time. My fourth step took me like 8 months, 8.5 months. I hear people like, yeah, I did it in like 2 weeks. I'm like, that was not my experience. I remember she gave me this list, right? She's like, just write people who have harmed you. And I was like, oh, and so I did it. And I remember there'd be days where I would just like binge write. I was like, oh my God, yes, because I get so angry. And then there was days like they were just so difficult to write. They were so hard to write. People that I look back in high school or just things that I've done that I'm just so ashamed of. I did some really shitty things to my sister behind her back too that I just don't think she's here. That's great. Just some really horrible things to her that I remember I was able to tell my sponsor and she goes, yeah. And like I was almost waiting for like the shock effect from Kelly and she never gave it to me. I was kind of sad. But I was almost due with my daughter and she goes, we got to get this fifth step done. So I'd finally finished my fourth step, 8.5 grueling months, afterwards. And I remember she made me this little bed, this cushion area, like on her bed. I'm just super heavy and big. And I was probably emotional in general, but I remember sitting on her bed and I just read my fifth step to her. And I just cried. I just cried because I was able to look at people who have harmed me and just look at my part and how I assisted in creating that awful resentment. And a lot of people say they had this like amazing awakening. And I don't know if I had that, but I know that I felt some sort of relief from it. And she sent me home and she goes, you go do 5 and 6 by yourself. I was like, I don't know what that means. She goes, you go sit in a chair and think about that's basically what she goes, go sit and think about what you've done in a nice way. And she goes, and you ask God to remove those shortcomings. And I think I still have a lot of them. I think I still do a lot of shitty things today. But and I had my daughter. And dude, having my daughter was just like a scene out of a movie. And I always say this. I have a couple movie scenes in my life. And I'll get to some of those in a sec. But I had my daughter and I went into the hospital on March 12th. So my sobriety birthday is March 13th. So go to the hospital March 12th. I had a beautiful labor with my daughter. It was a piece of cake. So I go in, I get my epidural, I take a nap I sleep the entire night, and I wake up at like 8, and they're like, "You're dilated, let's go." And I was like, that was a piece of cake. And Kelly was there, and I remember calling her, and I was like, "I'm in labor." She's like, "I'll be right there." I was like, "Oh no, no, you don't have to come." She's like, "Oh no, I'll be right there." And just the shit that she's shown up for me is just a gift in itself. And she brought me a robe and like no slip socks so I could walk through the hospital and not break myself. And she held a leg and my eggs held a leg, and we got that baby out, and it was just and I ended up having her on my 2-year sobriety birthday. So she really is my angel baby. She just means like getting to celebrate her birthday is just the gift of my sobriety, like what I get to do today for her. So our birthdays are really, really special. And so yeah, so I just, there's so much has happened. It's so hard to like, depict what's happened in 9 years. But fast forward a little bit, I don't think I started feeling like kind of knowing who I was until about 5 years sober. And again, not to scare anyone, keep doing it, keep showing up no matter how much time you have. But that's when I really started to mold into Ellen and really find who I was. I went back to school about 3 years sober. I've been trying to go to school for fucking years. And I kept dropping out because I one time I got my DUI and I got arrested. And I was like in jail for like 2 weeks and I couldn't finish my courses. It was awful. And so I had to like reapply for school. It was like it was a whole thing, you know. So I went back to school, and I started really slow because I had like, who goes back to school with 2 kids and a full-time job? I did. And I just started really slow. And at that time, I was able to grieve a loss of I actually left my kids' dad about this time too. And I don't know if anyone can relate, but that was the most toxic relationship I've ever been in, and yet the most difficult to leave. I just felt so trapped, and I was so scared. Like, if I leave this man, like, what's going to happen to me? And I was 3 years sober, and I was terrified. And I remember asking him to leave, and it was like the day that he moved out was like I felt like I was able to like find myself again. That's kind of where the whole 5 years kind of fits in. And I went there. I only got like 15 minutes left, so I'm not going to go into ickiness, but I went through some really challenging experiences with this man. Trying to co-parent with a man who's not well is really difficult. Um, he ended up getting his other girlfriend at the time, pregnant. And I remember they had a little boy. And blended family, sorry, I feel like I'm going to confuse all you guys. We have a blended family. So me and my partner, Andy, and his girlfriend, we had a big blended family, and we actually kind of made it work in a really twisted, fucked up way. But they had a little boy, and then Sarah's her boy, and then my son played sports together. Yeah, so big weirdness. Anyways, their little boy used to come over to like where we were sitting at the softball fields and like go through our cooler and like want to eat food. And I didn't like him. And he was a year and a half old. And this little boy, and I was like, get the fuck out of my cooler. And I just didn't, please tell me someone relates to that. And I was like, get away from me. Like, I didn't want to look at him. I was resentful of this little 1.5-year-old. And man, he grew on me. And he grew on me. And his name's Mason. And I love him today. He's a beautiful little boy. And he had nothing to do with whatever happened between us. And that took me a long time to filter through. And I just love him today. And him, and he's Oki, Parker, and him are all half siblings, so they get to spend time together. They get to see each other on holidays. Fuck, that was hard. That was one of the hardest things I've gone to in my sobriety. And just kind of top it off with that, their dad passed away about a year and a half ago, very, very unexpectedly. He died of sepsis. Just, I mean, he was in the hospital one day and he passed away that night. And it was a really challenging thing to go through in sobriety. And I remember I told my kids that, hey, dad's in the hospital, he's not doing very well, but he'll be okay. Right. And 6 hours later, he was dead. And I remember telling my kids the next day, and telling an 11 and 5-year-old that their dad has passed away is just the most uncomfortable thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. And I remember when I went to the funeral, I went to they did like a showing of him the day before the funeral. And I didn't know if I wanted the kids to go see him. And so I went in first. And another moment with Kelly that I just love is I remember I went in and I walked in and I saw him. And I stared at him and I just had I can't even describe the feelings I had. I was like sad. I was confused, but I was like really happy in this fucked up way because I was so angry at this man for so long and he put me and the kids through just shit. I didn't know how to feel. And I got really uncomfortable and I like kind of sprinted out of the room and I went to go walk out. I beelined it right outside and Kelly was walking in. And I just like fell into her arms and I just started bawling and I was like, I don't know how to feel. And I just this an array of, and I just feel like people in AA have always just caught me. They've just always caught me. They've always been there when I need someone. And another thing about just like difficulty going through that is after the death of him, Andy happened, I didn't want to be connected to his girlfriend and their kids anymore. I didn't want to see them. I just figured I was like, this guy's gone. No need to see you guys anymore. And I sat on Kelly's couch one day and she kind of said something that really hurt my feelings. And I really wanted to smack her at the time. I just remember she said something to me and I won't even go into detail, but she said something and I cried and I got resentful and I left. And I sat on it, right? As we do, we fucking sit on it and we think, sucks. And she was right. And so I tried to the best of my ability to mend this relationship because it wasn't about me and this woman, it was about my kids, right? So the next year, I think the next year of our life was just really difficult, but I was able to talk with my sponsor, show up for my kids, and mend this relationship between me and this woman who I wasn't fond of, and the kids, and Mason and Parker and Oki. And I would not have done that without the grace of AA. 100%. If I didn't have this program, I can't tell you what that would have looked like, but my sisters in AA have definitely walked me through what that looks like, and that you can do it with grace and you can be pissed and you can be angry and all that jazz. And man, I'm so grateful that's how it's worked out. I'm so grateful that I'm in sobriety and that I'm safe, sane, and sober. You know, that's just what the gift of AA that's giving me. I feel like challenges is clearly on my mind right now, like difficult things I've gone through in sobriety. So one more thing I want to just kind of touch on that has been very difficult for me is I have a sibling. So my sister is one of us, and she's been pretty up and down in this program as well. And man, we had so much fun together drinking. We were just like two thieves drinking together in high school and in college. She went to school at Spokane Falls and we used to go travel over there and just get shit faced in the dorms. And we just had such a blast together. And then I got sober. And I think that was really uncomfortable for her because I think we were just like best friends who just drank together. And so I have been able to witness her use be very out of control. She had an incident where she got in a really severe burn accident. She was intoxicated at work and she was changing the air fryers and she had spilled hot oil on herself and she had burned about 25% of her body and she got life flighted to Seattle. And it was right after COVID. So like we couldn't go visit her, couldn't go see her. It was awful. We got pictures like from her, at the hospital, and we didn't know if she'd like lose a hand. We didn't, I mean, her entire hand was just, it was bad. And she came home. My mom went over there, and then my mom, brought her back, and my mom and I had to do wound care on her for about a month. And took an hour out of our day every couple days, and she got a little better, and then she just started using again. And it was so devastating to watch. And the fact of the matter is that is what alcohol does to her. It's what it does to me. No fucking consequence. Helped me. I needed law enforcement to go, you're getting sober. Like that was my push, and I'm so grateful that I got into watch, and I actually currently work at a addictions facility right now. I'm doing my practicum and I'm in grad school. Holy shit. I'm gonna clap for myself. I'm just gonna say, um, someone who couldn't finish high school barely. I'm in my last year of grad school and I'm working for Crosswinds Recovery and I fucking love it. It's such a joy to give back to like just firsthand experience, right? So I got my ACLC about a month and a half ago, and I'm starting to do addictions counseling, and it's just so insane to watch. Like when I think about where my alcoholism has taken me, and like watching others go through it, and it's just you just can't fix anyone, and I think that's the hardest truth that I've had to face is that I'm not going to make anyone better. It has to come from within. It has to be my choice and my journey, and I hope that I get to, like that's why it's so important for me to come up here and share today, right? Like I always I was in the program really newly and Parker was little and we were at Walmart and we were shopping for something and Parker goes, "Are we going to AA tonight?" I was like, and I was just mortified. I was like, "Oh my God." And he was so cute. So if anyone's familiar with the solution group, when we were at the First Presbyterian Church, daycare was a really big thing. We had a lot of daycare, a lot of kids that showed up, and Parker has grown up in AA. So he loved coming to AA on Tuesday nights. They always had daycare, there was tons of kids. And so, like, in the moment, I was like, shut the hell up, kid. Like, no one knows we're there. And I wasn't ready to say that. And what a gift today. Like, what a blessing that he knows what sobriety is for mom and he knows that he can go somewhere safe to play with other kids. What a joy, right? And that always sticks with me. It was so funny. Oh shit. Um, and today I think something that's so amazing that I get to do is I just get to show up. Like I get to show up. I've gotten a lot better at saying no. I remember when I was in early sobriety, they say it's a yes program, right? It's a yes program. Say yes. I was saying yes too much, like really early on. And I remember that didn't serve me very well. And I had some time under my belt, and Kelly really was able to be like, here's what showing up looks like in a healthy way, and like we kind of work through that. And so I'm able to say no today. And I think that was one of the hardest things to learn. But I also say yes when it comes to when someone asks me to speak. I mean, that's it. If I can't do it one day, I'll do it the next day. Right. My life is definitely really full today, and I'm so grateful. My son's 12 now. He is he is a stellar athlete. Anyone knows him. He had a basketball game the other night against CS Porter, and Teddy plays for CS Porter. It's so funny because we like always cheer for like Teddy too. We always cheer for like all of his friends on any team. But I was watching Parker play and he has just like something's happened in the past year where like he's like very skilled and very talented. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And I'm always like, well, I'm his mom. That's why. He's got good genes. But I just can't even tell you guys what showing up means today. Showing up for AA, showing up for my life, showing up for my job, showing up for school. I've got this semester is almost finished and I have one more semester and it'll be 6 years that I've been going to school. And I'm just like, what am I gonna do when I have time on my hands? Like but hard work and sobriety. Like if I wasn't sober, this never would have happened ever. Um, my sponsor made a comment to me the other day. I told her that I was kind of on autopilot. I met with her like a couple weeks ago. I said, yeah, I'm kind of on autopilot. And she goes, don't do that. And I was like, and so I'm really trying to, and something else I've always been really bad at, if anyone can relate, I'm really bad at like feeling my feelings. Um, Early on, I was really good at like talking myself out of why I was feeling the way I'm feeling because it was stupid. I shouldn't feel this way because of this. And I'm so much better at that today. I'm able to be angry and be pissed and just not sulk in it, right? Like I've got solutions today. I've got a pretty hefty toolbox today. And some days that's really different. I remember I called my sponsor not too long ago. I was like, and I can't think of what it was, but I said, I don't have any tools. And she just laughed at me. It was like something had happened. I don't remember what it was. But I was like, I don't have any fucking tools today. And she was like, have you prayed about it? Have you sat and done just I know the basics. Back to basics. Some days I really got to get back to that. So it just I think the only thing I'm trying to say here, because I'm just rambling again, like I always fucking do, my sobriety has just ebbed and flowed. It has ebbed and flowed so heavily. I mean, grad school is super heavy. It's really heavy, and I'm almost done, and I'm making it, and I have A's. Like I'm not like I'm not just like swinging by. I'm doing the work, and my kids are super understanding of it. They're beautiful. Um, I show up for most of every single one of Parker's games unless something conflicts. I just do the best I can. And some days that looks really different. And some days that is icky. And some days I'm doing really good at school and I'm neglecting my kids and vice versa. But before I end here, just something about showing up is my daughter had a sleepover Friday night at a friend's house that we'd never met before. And so I don't know if that's good or bad, but I walked in, I met the mom and, you know, different lifestyles a little bit, and that's super okay. And she stayed the night and she has a cell phone. And so I fell asleep and I had like 25 text messages from my daughter. And I was like, and she called me and she's like, will you come get me? And it was 3:30 in the morning. And I go, be right there. And if I was in a drunken stupor, that never would have happened. And God forbid knows if she would have been legitimately hurt or scared or whatnot. But I'm able to wake up within reason. Um, and go pick her up. And I put her in my bed and we fell asleep together. And it was just that's what she needed. And so I pray that my kids know that I'm a space where they can come and talk and feel safe and feel loved. And that's all that I wish for myself and for everyone else. And I hope I made some sense today. And that's all I have.